She couldn't feel her legs anymore. The snow had turned them numb, dead weight beneath her. Her thin dress was soaked through, clinging to skin that had turned blue. And in her trembling arms, wrapped in the only coat she had, was a 10-day-old baby who'd stopped crying. That silence was worse than any scream. The mansion door had slammed shut 5 blocks ago. The lights inside warm and golden, a world she'd never be part of. And the man who'd watched it happen, her boyfriend, the father of the child, freezing in her arms. He'd stood there in his family's marble entryway and said nothing. Not a single word. Just let his mother throw them out into 12-degree weather like they were trash. He was certain she wouldn't survive the night. Certain the cold would erase his mistake, his shame, his illegitimate child. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the woman dying on that sidewalk had a will so fierce, a rage so cold and patient and absolutely unbreakable, that 8 years later she'd own everything they had. Their company, their legacy, their future. She'd walk into their celebration wearing red and holding the daughter they tried to kill, and she'd make him beg. This is the story of a woman left to freeze, who became the fire that burned down everyone who wronged her. What happened next destroyed them all. Hi, my wonderful friends. Welcome to Mr. William Chronicles, where powerful stories reveal life's deepest truths. Before we continue with Karina's journey, I want you to help me prove something wrong. Some people claim that this channel will not grow, that people will not listen to these stories. But I believe these stories deserve to be heard. Help me show them that tales of survival and strength matter. So do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now and join this family of story lovers. It helps me keep bringing you these powerful stories. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is. You are the heartbeat of this channel, and knowing you're out there keeps these stories alive. Karina Hayes stood barefoot in the snow, holding her 10-day-old daughter against her chest. The cold bit through her thin dress. Behind her, the massive oak door of the Cole mansion slammed shut. She'd been inside that house for less than 20 minutes. Her hands shook as she looked down at Lily, wrapped in a pink blanket that was already soaking through. The baby's lips were turning pale. This wasn't supposed to happen. 3 months ago, Karina had stared at 3 positive pregnancy tests in their cramped Portland apartment. She was 23, working double shifts at a textile factory, barely making rent. Brendan Cole had wrapped his arms around her that night. "We'll figure this out," he'd said. "But my family can't know yet. Not like this. Stay here. Let me go home and prepare them. I'll smooth everything over." She'd wanted to believe him. He came from old money, the kind that bought silence and built legacies. She came from nothing. An orphan who aged out of foster care at 18 with $200 and a donated suitcase. But Brendan stayed. For 3 whole months, he stayed. He held her hair back when morning sickness left her weak. He assembled the second-hand crib they'd found at a thrift store. He promised her everything would be okay. Then he flew back to Boston. 6 months later, he returned. 2 weeks before Lily was born. He was there when Karina's water broke at 2 a.m. There when she screamed through 18 hours of labor. There when their daughter took her first breath. "She's perfect," he'd whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Just like you." For 10 days, they lived in a bubble. Brendan changed diapers, walked the floors when Lily wouldn't sleep, made terrible coffee that Karina drank anyway because it meant he was trying. Then he'd said it was time. Time to go home. Time to introduce Lily to his family. The flight to Boston felt like traveling toward a cliff. Karina held Lily the entire time, feeling the baby's heartbeat sink with her own fear. Brendan had arranged everything. They'd arrive at night during a family dinner. Casual, intimate. The Cole estate looked like something out of a magazine. Iron gates, manicured lawns. A house that probably cost more than Karina would earn in 10 lifetimes. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast harsh light over marble floors. Brendan led her through corridors lined with paintings of stern-faced ancestors. Voices came from the dining room. His mother, Evelyn Cole, wore pearls and a champagne dress. His father, Richard, sat at the head of a table in a tailored suit. His younger sister Vanessa looked up from her phone. "Everyone," Brendan said, his voice tight. "This is Karina. And this is our daughter, Lily." The silence that followed made Karina's skin crawl. Evelyn stood slowly. Her chair scraped against the floor like nails on wood. "You're what?" "Mother, please. You brought this person into our home? With a baby. She's my daughter. Our daughter." Evelyn's laugh was sharp. "You got some factory girl pregnant and now you're playing house? Do you have any idea what this will do to our reputation?" Karina's arms tightened around Lily. "I'm not trying to trap anyone. I just want Brendan to know his daughter." "Know his daughter?" Evelyn stepped closer. Her perfume was suffocating. "You saw a wealthy family, and you saw a meal ticket. Women like you always have a plan." "That's not true. Get out of my house." Karina turned to Brendan, the man who'd held her hand during labor, who'd promised they'd face this together. He stood frozen, eyes on the floor, jaw clenched, silent. "Brendan," Karina whispered. "Say something." He didn't move. Richard Cole stood. "You heard my wife. Leave." "Brendan." Karina's voice cracked. Evelyn grabbed a coat from a nearby chair and shoved it at Karina. "Take your bastard child and get out. If you try to contact my son, our lawyers will bury you." The front door opened to a December night that felt like stepping into a freezer. Snow fell in thick sheets. The wind howled through bare trees. Karina stood on the stone steps, Lily in her arms, watching the door slam. She waited. Surely Brendan would come. Surely he'd realize what was happening. The door stayed closed. Her hands trembled as she removed her coat. It was the only real protection she had against the cold. She wrapped it around Lily, layering it over the baby's blanket. If she had to freeze, she'd freeze. But Lily would survive. She started walking. Her thin dress was no match for the storm. Each step felt like walking through broken glass. Her feet went numb first, then her legs. She couldn't feel her fingers anymore. 3 blocks, 4 blocks. The expensive neighborhood was silent. Every house dark. Everyone safe and warm behind thick walls. Pain shot through her abdomen. Her legs gave out. She collapsed on the sidewalk, Lily still wrapped in her arms. Snow covered them immediately. This was how she'd die. Frozen on a sidewalk in a neighborhood where each house could solve all her problems, but none would open their doors. She'd failed her daughter. Headlights cut through the storm. A car stopped. A door opened. "Oh my God, there's someone." Hands touched her shoulders. A woman's voice urgent. "Can you hear me? Stay with me. I'm calling 911. Beverly Grant was 54. She'd been driving home from dinner when her headlights caught what looked like trash on the sidewalk. She knelt in the snow, her coat getting ruined, and cradled Karina's head. "There's a baby," Karina whispered. "Please. The baby. The baby's okay. She's okay. Help is coming." Sirens. Red and blue lights. Paramedics lifted Karina onto a stretcher. Someone carefully unwrapped Lily from the coat. Body temperature is 88 degrees. Severe hypothermic. The baby stable. "We need to move." Massachusetts General Hospital became Karina's world for 6 days. The doctors said she'd been 30 minutes from death. Lily was perfectly fine. Not even a sniffle. Beverly visited every day. She brought clothes, toiletries. She just sat and listened. On the 4th day, Karina lay in her hospital bed, staring at Lily sleeping in the bassinet beside her. She reached through the bars and touched her daughter's tiny hand. "I will protect you from families like his," she whispered. "I will build something they can never touch. Something they can't buy, can't take away. I promise you." Lily's fingers wrapped around hers. Karina made a vow that night. She would rise. And when she did, the people who threw her into that snow would learn what it meant to underestimate her. When the hospital discharged Karina on day 6, she had nowhere to go. Beverly Grant sat beside her bed, watching her pack the donated clothes into a plastic bag. "Where will you stay?" Beverly asked. Karina didn't look up. "I'll figure something out." "That's not an answer. I have $600 saved. I'll find a motel, get a job, make it work." Beverly was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked the question that changed everything. "What did you do for work in Portland?" Karina finally looked at her. "I'm a seamstress. I can make anything. Dresses, suits, alterations. It's the only thing I'm actually good at." Beverly nodded slowly. "I have a guest house behind my brownstone in Jamaica Plain. It's small, but it's warm. You and Lily could stay there while you get on your feet." Karina's throat tightened. "I can't accept. I'm not done." Beverly pulled an envelope from her purse. $5,000. Seed money. Buy a professional sewing machine. Fabric. Supplies. Whatever you need to start taking clients. Tears spilled down Karina's cheeks. "Why would you do this for me?" Beverly's eyes softened. "Because 30 years ago I was you. Different circumstances, same desperation. Someone helped me then. Now it's my turn." The guest house was a converted carriage house. 1 bedroom. A small kitchen. Just enough space for Karina to set up a work area. Beverly helped her buy everything. A Singer industrial machine. Bolts of fabric in every color. Patterns. Thread. Scissors that cost more than Karina used to make in a week. That first night, after Lily fell asleep, Karina stood over her daughter's crib. "I will protect you," she whispered, "from people like his family. I'll make sure you never need anyone's permission to exist. I'll build something they can't touch." Lily's chest rose and fell peacefully. Karina got to work. The first year nearly broke her. She took every job she could find. Hemming pants for $10. Altering bridesmaid dresses for $20. Fixing torn coats. Repairing zippers. She worked while Lily napped. Worked after Lily went to bed. Survived on 4 hours of sleep and whatever food she could make quickly. She joined local parent groups. Offered to sew custom pieces for prices other seamstresses would laugh at. But Karina wasn't trying to compete. She was trying to survive. Word spread slowly. A mother needed a dress for her daughter's quinceañera. Karina made it for $200. The woman posted photos online. 3 more mothers called. A teacher needed a suit for a job interview. Karina tailored it perfectly. The teacher got the job and sent 5 colleagues. By month 14, Karina had a waiting list. By month 18, she raised her prices. By year 2, she was booked 6 weeks out. Then came Simone Rivera. Simone was a local activist who'd been invited onto a regional morning show to discuss community programs. She needed something that looked professional but powerful. Karina designed an emerald green gown. Clean lines. Perfect fit. The kind of dress that made people stop and stare. Simone wore it on air. The host spent 3 full minutes asking about it. "Where did you get that dress? Who made it? Can viewers find her?" Simone smiled into the camera. "A brilliant designer right here in Boston. Hayes Atelier." Karina's phone exploded. 37 calls in 2 days. 50 emails by the end of the week. She hired her first assistant within a month. By year 4, she opened her first storefront in Boston's South End. Hayes Atelier in elegant gold lettering across the window. 2 assistants became 4. 4 became 8. She started creating ready-to-wear lines alongside custom pieces. Sold them online. Shipped across the country. Year 6 brought her first celebrity client. The wife of a Boston Celtics player wore one of Karina's designs to a charity gala. The photos went viral. Fashion bloggers called it the dress of the season. Orders flooded in. Karina opened a second location in New York. Then a third in Los Angeles. By year 8, Hayes Atelier had more than 200 employees. Her designs appeared in Vogue, in Harper's Bazaar, in Elle. She'd built a multi-million-dollar empire from nothing. From a woman who'd nearly frozen to death on a sidewalk to a businesswoman who employed 50 people and dressed celebrities. All while raising Lily alone. Lily was 8 now. Bright, funny, thoughtful. She knew her father had abandoned them. But Karina never spoke his name with hate. "Your father made a choice," she'd tell Lily during their bedtime talks. "A weak choice. But his failure doesn't define you. You define you." Lily would nod, her small face serious. "Will I ever meet him?" "Maybe someday." 8 years had passed since that night in the snow. Karina pulled up to Beverly's brownstone in Jamaica Plain, her trunk filled with gifts. A custom coat she designed, imported chocolates, tickets to the show they'd been talking about for months. Beverly opened the door with a smile that hadn't changed in 8 years. "You didn't have to do all this." "Yes, I did." Karina handed her the garment bag. "You saved my life. This is the least I can do." They settled into Beverly's sunroom with tea. Afternoon light filtered through the windows. Lily was at school, probably drawing in art class or reading during quiet time. "Business is good?" Beverly asked. "Better than good. We just signed a lease for our 4th location in Miami." Beverly shook her head, smiling. "From my guest house to 4 storefronts in 8 years. You're something else, Karina." "I had help." Karina reached across and squeezed her hand. "I had you." They talked about Lily's latest obsession with marine biology, about the new fabric supplier Karina had found in Italy, about everything and nothing. Then Beverly's expression shifted. "Did you hear about Cole Holdings?" Karina's teacup stopped halfway to her lips. She set it down carefully. "What about them?" "Richard Cole made some terrible investments. Cryptocurrency mostly. Some overseas real estate deals that went south." Beverly paused. "Word is they're 6 months from bankruptcy." Karina's heart pounded. She kept her face neutral. "How do you know this?" "My late husband worked in finance. I still have friends in that world. They talk." Beverly studied her. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious." But Karina wasn't curious. She was calculating. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Karina sat at her home office desk. She opened her laptop and started digging. She'd built her wealth carefully over the years. Not just the fashion business, but smart investments. Real estate, stocks, offshore accounts set up for tax purposes through a firm in Manhattan. She had connections now. Lawyers, financial advisors, people who knew how to move money quietly. By 3 a.m., she had the full picture. Cole Holdings was hemorrhaging cash. Richard had bet big on ventures that collapsed. The company needed an immediate injection of capital. $20 million minimum. Karina had it. She'd earned every cent through sleepless nights and relentless work. Through designing dresses until her fingers cramped. Through building something from absolutely nothing. And now, the family that had thrown her into the snow was drowning. She could watch them go under. Or she could do something far more satisfying. Over the next 3 weeks, Karina worked in silence. She contacted a law firm in Manhattan. High-end, discreet. The kind that represented international clients who valued privacy. She set up a shell company. Layers of corporate structure that buried her name so deep no one would find it. The lawyers reached out to Cole Holdings on behalf of an overseas investment group seeking American opportunities. Richard Cole took the meeting within 48 hours. Desperate men don't ask questions. The terms were simple. $20 million in immediate capital. In exchange, the investment group would take majority control of Cole Holdings. Operational authority. Final say on all major decisions. Richard and Evelyn signed everything. They thought they were smart. Thought they'd outmaneuvered some naive foreign investors who didn't understand American business. The contracts were ironclad. Every clause designed to give Karina complete power while keeping her identity hidden. When the final documents came through, Karina sat alone in her office, staring at the signatures. Evelyn's elegant script. Richard's bold scrawl. They'd signed away everything to save themselves. They just didn't know they'd signed it over to her. Karina leaned back in her chair. She didn't smile, didn't celebrate. This wasn't about joy. This was about justice. The family that had nearly killed her daughter now belonged to her. Every asset, every decision, every humiliating moment going forward would happen because she allowed it. She thought about that night 8 years ago, standing barefoot in the snow, watching Brendan's silence destroy her. She thought about the vow she'd made in the hospital. I will build something they can never touch. She'd kept that promise. And now, the people who tried to erase her would spend every day knowing their survival depended on her mercy. Karina closed her laptop. Phase 1 was complete. Now came the part they'd never forget. The revelation. The Four Seasons ballroom glittered like a jewelry box. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. White tablecloths. Gold-rimmed plates. Waiters in black ties carrying champagne on silver trays. Every major business figure in Boston was here tonight. Senators, CEOs, old money families whose names appeared on hospital wings and university buildings. This was the Cole family's moment of triumph. 6 months ago, they'd been on the brink of collapse. Now they were celebrating their successful restructuring. Their return to stability. Evelyn Cole worked the room in a navy gown dripping with diamonds. She laughed with the wife of a state representative, kissed the cheek of a museum board director. Richard stood near the bar, scotch in hand, accepting congratulations from men who'd written him off months ago. Vanessa, now 26, posed for photos in a designer dress, her Instagram already flooded with comments. And Brendan stood with his wife Lauren, her hand resting on his arm. She wore emeralds, smiled at the right moments, played her part perfectly. He looked successful, put together, hollow. The MC tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention." The room quieted. Conversations died mid-sentence. Tonight is a celebration of resilience, of the Cole family's remarkable recovery. The MC smiled. But this wouldn't have been possible without the generosity of a very special investor. Someone who believed in this company when others walked away. Richard stepped forward, chest puffed, ready to take credit for securing the mysterious benefactor. "We're honored to finally introduce the person who saved Cole Holdings, the majority shareholder who made this all possible." The ballroom doors opened. Karina Hayes walked in wearing a scarlet gown that caught every light in the room. Custom-made, one of a kind, the kind of dress that made people stop breathing. Beside her, 8-year-old Lily wore a matching dress. Smaller, simpler, but unmistakably coordinated. The room went silent. Brendan's champagne glass slipped from his hand. It shattered on the marble floor. Karina walked to the stage. Her heels clicked against the floor like a countdown. Lily held her hand, chin up, fearless. She took the microphone. "Good evening. My name is Karina Hayes." Evelyn's face drained of all color. 8 years ago, I stood on the steps of the Cole family's home in Chestnut Hill. I was holding their 10-day-old granddaughter. Karina's voice was steady, clear. It was December, 12 degrees, heavy snow. Phones came out, started recording. Evelyn Cole called me a gold digger, told me I was trying to trap her son. Then she physically threw me out of her house with my newborn baby. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I removed my coat and wrapped it around my daughter to keep her warm. I collapsed 3 blocks away. My body temperature dropped to 88 degrees. The doctors said I was 30 minutes from death. Richard tried to move toward the stage. Security stepped in front of him. But I survived, and I built something. Karina looked directly at Evelyn. I built a fashion empire from nothing. Hayes Atelier, 3 locations, 50 employees, featured in Vogue and Elle. She paused. "And now I own the majority of Cole Holdings. Every asset, every decision, every move this family makes goes through me." The ballroom erupted. Voices overlapping. Shock. Disbelief. "You signed every contract. Agreed to every term. You thought you were outsmarting some naive foreign investors." Karina smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "You outsmarted yourselves." Evelyn finally found her voice. "This is insane. You can't. I can. And I did. Your lawyers can confirm every word. The contracts are ironclad." Karina looked out at the crowd. Cameras still recording. This would be all over the news by morning. "I want to thank the Cole family, especially Evelyn." Her voice softened, but the words cut deeper. "Your cruelty gave me fuel. Your rejection made me unstoppable. You tried to erase me. Now you work for me." She set the microphone down. Chaos erupted. Vanessa Cole shot to her feet. Her chair fell backward. She marched toward Brendan, her face twisted with fury. "You told us there was no baby." Her voice carried across the ballroom. "You said she was lying." Brendan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "You have a daughter?" Vanessa's hand shook. "An 8-year-old daughter you never mentioned?" Lauren stood beside him, her face pale as death. She turned to look at him. "You told me you had no children." Her voice was quiet, deadly. "You looked me in the eyes on our wedding day and said you had no children." "Lauren, we're done." She pulled off her wedding ring and dropped it on the table. "My father is a judge. You'll hear from my lawyers in the morning." She walked out. Half the room watched her leave. The other half watched the stage. Evelyn tried to push past security. "You can't do this. We'll sue. We'll fight every." "You'll do nothing." Karina's voice cut through the noise. "Because I own you now. Every contract you signed gave me that power. You made your choice 8 years ago when you threw a mother and baby into a snowstorm." She looked at Brendan. He stood frozen in the same spot, silent, just like that night. "Now live with it." Karina took Lily's hand and walked off the stage. The crowd parted like water. No one spoke. No one moved. She didn't look back. Behind her, Evelyn sank into a chair, her diamonds suddenly looking like chains. Richard stood motionless, his scotch forgotten. Vanessa stared at Brendan like she'd never seen him before. And Brendan stood in the wreckage of his life, watching the woman he'd abandoned walk away with the daughter he'd never fought for. The ballroom was still silent when Karina reached the doors. She'd come here with nothing to lose and everything to prove. She left owning the people who tried to destroy her. Justice wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was a woman in a scarlet dress, walking away while the people who wronged her drowned in their own choices. That if you're still watching and feeling that justice right now, tap that like button. You know she earned this moment. Show this story some love with a like and comment, "I see you, Karina," if you're rooting for her as she takes back her power. The scandal hit the news before sunrise. Fashion mogul reveals she owns company that abandoned her. Cole Holdings, saved by woman they threw into snowstorm. 8-year secret. Heir hidden, mother discarded. By noon, the story had gone viral. Videos from the gala flooded social media. Karina's speech. Lauren walking out. Evelyn's face when the truth landed. The internet had chosen its side. Within 2 weeks, Lauren filed for divorce. Her father, Judge Raymond Parker, made sure the paperwork moved fast. She wanted nothing from Brendan except her freedom. The smaller investors who'd stayed with Cole Holdings through the crisis started pulling out. They tolerated financial instability, but a scandal this ugly, association this toxic, they wanted distance. One by one, they withdrew their money. By the end of the month, Karina was the sole investor. The only thing keeping Cole Holdings alive. She could have destroyed them, dissolved the company, sold off the assets, left them with nothing. Instead, she did something worse. She let them keep running it. Richard still had his office, his title, his nameplate on the door. Evelyn still attended board meetings. But every decision went through Karina first. Every contract, every hire, every financial move. They had to ask her permission to breathe. And she made them wait for answers. Sometimes hours, sometimes days. The power wasn't in destroying them. It was in reminding them daily that their survival depended on her mercy. Evelyn's world crumbled faster than the company almost had. Her friends stopped calling. Lunch invitations dried up. The charity boards she chaired for decades asked her to step down. "It's just optics, Evelyn. You understand." Women who'd fought for invitations to her holiday parties now crossed the street to avoid her. The whispers followed her everywhere. Did you hear what she did? Threw out her own granddaughter in a snowstorm. What kind of monster? Evelyn had built her identity on being untouchable, on her family name, her social standing. Karina had stripped it all away without saying another word. Richard became a ghost. He stopped going to the club, stopped playing golf with old friends. He spent his days in his study, staring at financial reports that now required Karina's signature. The man who'd stood silent while his wife threw a woman into the cold now lived in his own kind of winter. 3 months after the gala, Karina's assistant buzzed her office. "There's a Brendan Cole here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment." Karina stared at her computer screen. She hadn't spoken to him since that night. Hadn't needed to. "Send him in." Brendan looked different. Thinner. Older. The confidence he'd worn like armor was gone. He stood in her doorway like he wasn't sure he had permission to enter. "Karina, you have 5 minutes." He sat down across from her desk. Hands clasped. Eyes red. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything." His voice cracked. "But I need you to know I'm sorry." Karina said nothing. "I was weak. Terrified. I let fear control every choice I made." He looked up. "My mother didn't make me stay silent that night. I did that. I stood there and watched her throw you out, and I said nothing because I was a coward." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Lily deserves better than the father I've been. And I know I have no right to ask, but—" He stopped. Started again. "Can I see her? Just once. Let me try to be what I should have been from the beginning." Karina studied him. This broken man who'd once promised her everything. "Lily's been asking about you for 2 years. Hope flickered across his face. "But this isn't about you. It's about her." Karina leaned forward. "You'll see her under my terms. Supervised visits. 2 hours every other Saturday. A family counselor will be present. Anything. I'll do anything. And Brendan." Her voice turned to steel. "The moment you disappoint her, the moment you put anyone before her well-being, you're done. That's the promise I made the night she was born. I will keep it." "I understand." He kept showing up. Every other Saturday at 10 a.m., Brendan arrived at the family counseling center. He never missed. Never canceled. He brought books Lily mentioned wanting. Listened to her talk about school. About her friends. About the ocean documentary she'd watched 17 times. He didn't try to buy her love with expensive gifts. He just showed up. Consistently. Genuinely trying to earn back what he'd thrown away. At the 4th visit, Lily brought a drawing she'd made. 2 stick figures holding hands. "That's us," she said quietly. At the park. Brendan's hands trembled as he took it. "Can I keep this?" Lily nodded. He attended her school art show. Sat in the back. Applauded when her watercolor won 3rd place. He sent cards on her birthday. Asked Karina's permission first. He was trying. It didn't erase what he'd done. Didn't fix the years he'd missed. But he was trying. 2 years passed. Lily was 10 now. Thriving. Bright. Kind. Everything her parents should have been. Karina had built a life she'd once thought impossible. Her business expanded. Her name meant something. And she'd met someone. Malcolm Reed. An architect she'd met at a design conference in Chicago. He was thoughtful. Made her laugh. Loved Lily without hesitation. He didn't see Karina as a survivor story. He saw her as a woman who'd fought her way to the top and refused to apologize for it. 6 months after they met, he proposed in Beverly's sunroom. The place where Karina had learned the Cole family was falling apart. The place where everything had started to shift. Beverly cried. Lily squealed. Karina said yes. Not because she needed saving, but because she'd built something strong enough to let someone in. The wedding was set for spring. Small. Intimate. Exactly what Karina wanted. She'd spent 8 years proving she didn't need anyone. Now she was choosing to share her life with people who'd earned the right to be there. The girl who'd nearly frozen in the snow had become the woman who decided who stayed warm. And she was finally ready to let herself be happy. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms and possibility. Karina stood in the bridal suite of a small venue in Cambridge, staring at herself in the mirror. The dress was her own design. Simple. Elegant. Ivory silk that caught the afternoon light. No crystals. No excess. Just clean lines and perfect tailoring. Beverly sat behind her, fastening the clasp on a pearl necklace. You look beautiful. Karina met her eyes in the mirror. I'm nervous. That's normal. Is it? Karina turned to face her. I spent 8 years building walls, making sure no one could hurt me again. And now I'm about to marry someone who saw right through all of them. Beverly smiled. That's not weakness, sweetheart. That's growth. A knock on the door. Lily peeked her head in, already dressed in her flower girl outfit. White dress with a pale pink sash. Her dark hair in soft curls. Mom, they're ready. Karina's heart swelled. 10 years old. Smart. Brave. Everything she'd fought for. How do I look? Like a princess. Lily grinned. Malcolm's going to cry. He better not. I did his makeup myself. They laughed. Beverly handed Karina her bouquet. White roses and eucalyptus. Ready. Karina took a breath. Ready. The ceremony was outside. 50 chairs arranged in neat rows. String lights hung between trees. The sun filtered through spring leaves, casting soft shadows. The guests were few, carefully chosen. People who'd earned their place in Karina's life. Beverly sat in the front row, wearing a Hayes Atelier original in soft lavender. Her eyes already glistening. Karina's employees from the Boston location. The ones who'd been there since the beginning. Who'd believed in her when Hayes Atelier was just a dream. Malcolm's family. His sister. His parents. Kind people who'd welcomed Karina and Lily without hesitation. And, in the back row, almost hidden, sat Brendan. He'd asked permission to attend. Sent a handwritten letter, explaining he just wanted to see Lily happy. That he'd sit wherever Karina wanted. Leave early if she preferred. Karina had surprised herself by saying yes. Not for him. For Lily. The music started. A string quartet playing something soft and timeless. Lily walked down the aisle first, scattering rose petals. Her smile was radiant. She looked back at Karina and gave a small thumbs up. Then it was Karina's turn. She walked alone. No one to give her away because she'd given herself everything she had. Malcolm stood at the altar in a gray suit. His eyes locked on hers. He was crying. Karina had been right. The ceremony was short. Simple vows they'd written themselves. I promise to choose you every day, Malcolm said, voice steady despite the tears. Not because you need me, but because I need you. Karina's voice didn't shake. I promise to let you in. To trust that not everyone will hurt me. To believe that I deserve this. You do, Malcolm whispered. The officiant pronounced them married. Malcolm kissed her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. The reception was in the same garden. Tables with white linens. Food served family style. Laughter and conversation instead of formality. Lily ran between tables, showing everyone her flower girl basket. Beverly held court with Malcolm's mother, the two women bonding over stories of stubborn children. Karina sat at the head table, Malcolm's hand in hers, watching it all. This was peace, not the absence of struggle, but the presence of people who'd fought for her. With her, Brendan approached during dinner. He held a small wrap box. I know I'm probably the last person you want to talk to right now. It's okay. Karina gestured to the empty seat beside her. Sit. He sat carefully, set the box on the table. This is for Lily, for when she's older. Photos of her as a baby. The ones I kept. He paused. I know I wasn't there, but I want her to know I never forgot her. Karina studied him. 2 years of showing up, of trying, of being the father he should have been from a start. It didn't erase the past, but it was something. Thank you. Brendan looked across the garden at Lily, who was laughing with Malcolm's niece. She's incredible. You raised an incredible kid. I did. No hesitation. No false modesty. I have regrets, Karina. Every single day. But watching her today, seeing her this happy. He trailed off. I'm glad one of us was strong enough to give her this life. Karina didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Brendan stood. Congratulations. Both of you. He walked back to his seat in the last row. A man who'd had everything and lost it by his own hand. A cautionary tale. Malcolm leaned close to Karina. You okay? I'm perfect. And she was. The sun set slowly, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The string quartet played. People danced. Beverly pulled Karina aside near the end of the night. "I'm proud of you. For getting married? For becoming the woman you were always meant to be." Beverly's eyes filled with tears. "That night I found you in the snow. I didn't know I was saving someone who'd change your whole world. You did that, Karina. You did all of it." Karina hugged her tight. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to." Later, as guests started leaving, Karina stood with Malcolm and Lily under the string lights. Her daughter, her husband, her family. 10 years ago, she'd collapsed on a frozen sidewalk, certain she'd failed. Tonight, she stood in a garden she'd chosen, wearing a dress she designed, surrounded by love she'd earned. The little girl who'd nearly died in the cold had become the woman who built her own warmth, who decided who got to stay in her life, who turned pain into power and survival into triumph. Karina Hayes had once been thrown away like garbage. Now she was a queen who'd built her own kingdom, and she'd done it without compromising a single piece of who she was. Malcolm kissed her forehead. Lily hugged her waist. Beverly waved from across the garden. This was enough. More than enough. This was everything. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like. It really helps the channel grow. And drop a comment telling us where you are watching from and your favorite moment in the story. And subscribe to Mr. William Chronicles so you don't miss stories like this. We tell stories about people who turned their pain into power. And trust me, there are more coming. See you in the next one.